Welcome to another really special live discussion about the State of Small Business Report. And today it's special because we're going to be talking about the part of the Venn diagram where money and marketing overlap with all of the other business things that we have going on. And my name is Taylor Cusa Coleman. I'm the founder of NG, in case we haven't met yet, but I have two of my most favoritist humans and fellow startup founders here with me. I have Nora and Elizabeth Sheils from Rock Paper Coin here. Would you both give the folks who are watching live or the replay a quick introduction of yourselves and what Rock Paper Coin helps them do?
Sure, absolutely. I can go first. Hi everybody. I'm Nora, and I have worked in the industry for over 20 years at this point. First as a planner, I own a company in the Pacific Northwest called Bridal Bliss, and did that for many, many years. Was looking for software for our company, couldn't find it, and so Elizabeth and I built it. So that's kind of how Rock Paper Coin came to be. We were a need-based solution to solve problems running a business in the wedding industry. But beyond that, I live in Oregon, and I'm married with two kids and a new little puppy in our household.
That's so exciting. I didn't know there was a new little puppy in your household.
Oh my gosh, it's been a ride.
Elizabeth, is there a
And
new little puppy in your
yes,
household also?
no. Oh my gosh, I wish I'm gonna come steal Nora's when I get home. But yes, I'm Elizabeth, and I met Nora back in 2008. She, as mentioned, started Bridal Bliss, and I was at a corporate job and needing a creative outlet. So I started assisting and working with Nora at Bridal Bliss. And as she mentioned, that just took a turn and we started creating Rock, Paper, Coin together. I live in Portland, Oregon, and not too far from Nora. And yeah, I'm super excited to be chatting with you today about marketing and money and all the cross sections.
I know, I honestly don't think that people talk about marketing and money together, like in the same conversation enough. So this is going to be, like I said, a fun and interesting one that I'm excited to dive into. So to kick things off, I'm just interested genuinely to know which stat from the report surprised you the most. And it doesn't have to be a money related stat, but what was the one that made you go, Nora, what was the stat
Yeah,
that stuck out to you?
one that I loved was that you said 75% of owners use AI for their marketing. And everyone that I talk to is just kind of intimidated by AI. And so I loved seeing that number being so high because it is kind of intimidating if you've never played around with it, even something as simple as ChatGPT. But once you try it and realize what a difference it can make for you and your company, even like puppy training. My husband has been on ChatGPT in the middle of the night. But just marketing is like such a prime place to use AI. So I was really, really happy to see that such a high percentage of your respondents were using it.
Yeah, it is nice to know that people are using a new tool. And, I agree that at face value, artificial intelligence can seem like, oh, I need to have a computer science degree to really make the most out of it. But thankfully, in the age of generative AI, companies like NG and ChatGPT and all these other pieces of software have made it really accessible for folks. So
Yeah.
it's a step in the right direction. Elizabeth, what was the stat that surprised
Yes.
you the most?
So I'll be on the opposite side. What surprised me the most was that only 37% of people are feeling optimistic about 2026. And it makes me a tad sad to hear that, but I think it also speaks just to the uncertainty that small business owners are feeling right now. And like whether it's bookings or sales or the economy, like it's just a lot of unknowns to navigate. And so
Yeah.
I think this is coming at a really pivotal point for people because we can kind of like dive in, talk a lot about the details, and at least take out a couple uncertainties around like the marketing and the money that goes into marketing. And I think, there's these small little changes that maybe people can make in their businesses to get a little bit more optimistic, not necessarily about the big picture, but maybe just about little areas within their own business.
I love that. Like, it's not necessarily about reframing the entire picture because that is
Right.
You can't do
extremely
that.
overwhelming. We can't actually do it. That's a really great reminder, and I think an important takeaway from the conversation, even just a few minutes into it.
Yeah. Taylor,
Yes.
I'm curious, you as the creator
Ooh.
of it, what surprised you?
Um, you know, the thing that surprised me in a good way was that I can't remember. I'll have to look at it. Let me pull it up. The folks that were spending 6 to 10 hours a week on their marketing were 6 times as likely to rate their marketing as very or extremely effective. And so it's 19% of small business owners who took the survey said that they're in that 6 to 10 hour range. And it surprised me because when I'm talking to business owners and I ask, how much time do you have to work on your marketing? They make a face and they go, an hour or two. And so it was very different from the small business owners that I regularly am having conversations with and supporting, like through the NG community and just at events like Wedding MBA. So it surprised me because I thought that it would be more, um, or how do I want to say this? I didn't think that it would be such a stark difference
Yeah.
between how much time you spend on your marketing and how effective you rate it. Because when push comes to shove, if you have 2 hours a week to work on your marketing, if you use those 2 hours intentionally, you can still get really
Right.
good results. So
Mhm.
there's just like this weird messy soup that I think it exposed for me. So, more
Interesting.
problems for me to try to solve
Yes.
for all of the folks who are trying to do their own marketing.
I love
Um,
it.
okay, so the first question that I wanted to ask you is a little bit of, I mean, personal, but like not personal, personal, because I know that Rock Paper Coin doesn't put a huge emphasis on social media marketing. And half of the small business owners who took the survey to create the State of Small Biz report said that if there was one marketing thing that they could walk away from, it would be social media. And that didn't surprise me. But because you as a business have made that decision to not make social media super, super important in terms of where you're showing up and how you're connecting with people, what advice do you have for business owners who are sitting there just like wishing, hoping, praying that they could make this go away, but feel like they can't?
I mean, I get it. I think I think this is very interesting to me because everybody feels like they have to be on social media and they have to be on all social media. So I think that's also playing into why people want to quit and walk away and why they're overwhelmed. And I think for us at Rock Paper Coin, like the reality is like where are your customers? Where are your customers finding out about you? Where are they coming in from you? I think that every business needs one social media platform or maybe two, like depending on your business and sector, but you certainly do not need to be on all of them. We grabbed our Twitter handle account, so we have that. We do not post on there. We do not engage on there. That is just not where our customers are coming in from. So, like, why would I spend any energy cultivating an audience on there if that's not ultimately where people are going to find out about us and convert into customers? So, I think, in my opinion, where you spend your time on social media is really important because you can waste a ton of time there. And so you have to understand what social media platform is actually converting, and that takes diving into the data, which not everybody likes to do. But otherwise, it can just feel way too much.
Yeah. Um, Thank you for bringing up data
Yeah,
because
I was like,
absolutely.
I'm gonna tee this up.
Tee this up. Because yeah, there is just this enormous amount of pressure to show up in all of the places. And one of the previous panels that I hosted, Mark Chapman of the I Do Society, brought up a really good point. And he said that, couples have more places than ever to try to find and connect with the professionals that they're going to hire for their weddings. And I think when you pair that with the fact that a lot of business owners follow so many experts in these different parts of what it takes to run a business that collectively, that is what creates this pressure to feel like I need to be everywhere. But, for anyone who's watching this live or the replay, if you just start, if there's one metric that you start tracking, one KPI, one key performance indicator, it would be to track your leads every month by source. Like, are you getting folks from Google, from Instagram, from referrals, from listings and marketplaces? And just start, if you're doing it old school, I don't care, tallying how many you get every single month. And over time, you are going to see very plainly where it's worth putting your time, money, and energy. And if figuring out which social media channels is the one that you're like, I just really need something or someone to tell me I don't have to do this anymore, then even just confine it to the social media platforms and start tracking that sort of stuff. Because then you can confidently say, like, I don't need to be on TikTok right now because it doesn't do anything for me. So, so yeah, thank you for bringing that up and for sharing that because so many people just want to throw in the towel with social media marketing. So, um,
Well, could I jump in here
yes,
too? The other
yes.
piece of this, like, totally agree with everything the two of you said that you don't have to do it all. I mean, the fact that Elizabeth called Twitter instead of
Oh,
X is very clear that we don't. I loved it because I think a lot of
Clearly.
wedding pros, I think a lot of wedding pros and event pros have kind of steered away from that, but it's, Instagram, TikTok seem to be the two drivers. It's hard to compare rock, paper, coin to the companies that we serve because we're B2B. So we serve photographers, florists, planners, all of those people who serve the client. And the client, it's, been proven time and time again, is on mostly Instagram and TikTok from all of the data that we've seen. However, you don't have to do it yourself. This is something that you can outsource. If you hate social media, listen, I hate social media too. Elizabeth hears me say this all the time. And you like, if your clients are on there, you have to be on there. You might not have to spend 24 hours a day on it, but having a presence and posting regularly is important. But that's something that a team member can do. That's something that somebody that you hire on just to help with social media can do. So I do think it's important. And you guys, the sun is out in Portland for the first time in like 2 weeks. So I'm sorry for my video.
No, enjoy the sun, get your vitamin D. That's important.
I like keep trying to move away.
Yeah, if I turned off all of the artificial lights in this room, I would look like I'm in a scary dungeon and you'd all be concerned for my safety. So, like, take the sunlight. Hiring for social media, this is an off the cuff question because a lot of people, when we ask them, hey, what's the first thing that you would outsource? Social media comes up all the time. It's either that or content creation. And I just want to sort of start to set some realistic expectations in terms of like what it costs to outsource these things, right? And I don't know, does either the planning company or Rock Paper Coin outsource social media? It's all done in-house, or how do
It's
you guys manage it?
It's all done in-house for both of them. But there are so many great administrative assistants out there. There are companies that like do this exclusively, and the pricing like completely runs the gamut. So I'm probably not going to be helpful here, but you can pay people hourly to do it, or like Duet Social Media is a new one on the market. Well, not that new, but they're wonderful. They serve kind of that luxury market, and so they have a luxury price tag
Yeah.
attached to it. But
We also got like at some point we hired somebody just to do content creation for us. So
Mm-hmm.
we still managed all of our own social media, but probably now, I don't know, year and a half ago, we had somebody just come in and do a bunch of content creation. So that was another way that just like lifted the burden quite a bit on social media. We just got a bunch of content and then we could post it at the cadence that we wanted, and we just paid per reel. So that was also really nice. And again, we kind of then could set like what we wanted to spend. If it was only $600 one month, then great, we only got X videos. And if we wanted to spend 1,500, then we got why, so that was a really nice way for us to manage our budget while getting some help too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and of course, we've worked with NG as well to just get a
Yes.
plan in place. And she did not pay me to say this, but just to having like a plan so you know what to post every month and like what your theme is or what it's all coming back to is so, so helpful. So you're not just like starting from scratch trying to come up with something new every single month.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And there are so many different ways that you can get support in this area. And like you said, Nora, at totally different price points. I like to be super transparent about what we do. And our monthly investment in social media marketing is $1,500 a month. And I still record all of the videos, but I'm being after I create the overall direction for the month, I'm then being told like what in the weeds kind of content needs to be created, and then I don't have to edit things. So at the end of the day, if social media is important to your marketing plan, look at your business and figure out how you can work it into your budget because you can't just like not do it if it's actually
Right.
important. So, okay, my now we're getting into the money stuff. So, two-thirds of small business owners who took the survey said that they saw the same number of leads year over year or fewer number of leads and revenue combined. Is this in any way, shape, or form similar to what you saw in the rock, paper, coin community? Since rock, paper, coin is, a
Yeah.
great piece of software to help people, like book clients, manage their leads, all that kind of stuff.
Yes. So from 24 to 25, 100%, it did in the data, it did state that contracts were down and invoices were down kind of across the board. Um, so I would say the average like business had 16 and this year they had 13. But what is promising is that that number is up for 2026 dates. So that is a good indication that there is an increase in demand and an increase in contracts going out. But there is an asterisk. What we are seeing is that people are taking longer to book. So they're taking a lot more time to make decisions and they're reaching out to more vendors than they ever have before. So I think that also can lead to kind of that uncertainty or feeling like less leads and revenue is coming in as we're definitely in that kind of like booking season right now. I think it's really easy for business owners to be like, oh my gosh, I'm just not booking as much, but we have a different booking timeline than we've seen before, and it's a lot longer of a timeline.
Hmm. That's that is a very important thing for people to know because, during, I think a lot of business owners, especially in the wedding and event industry, are still latching on to how things happened and worked like right after the pandemic, right? Where things were just happening, happening, happening. You needed to snatch up your entire vendor team
Yeah.
so fast. And that is absolutely not the case anymore. And so when you're looking at how much time is going to pass between someone discovering you and then someone completing the inquiry form on your website, like this is why you can't go dark with your marketing in the places that
Right.
you're showing up. Because if they discover you and then you're active for a little bit, but they haven't made the decision yet to get closer to completing your inquiry form, then you've missed the boat and you're no longer top of mind enough to have them keep considering you. Is there, because you both, have one foot in both of these worlds, what's been your sort of personal experience with this? Also knowing that
Yeah.
the couples that you're working with are much more luxury than not.
Yeah, I think it's right on par with what we're seeing. So people are reaching out to many more vendors in the same category. So, if you're not following up multiple times, you're just going to get buried in their inbox. And we found this to be true. The number of follow-ups it has taken is substantially more
Mm.
last year and, just these first couple weeks into 2026. It's like constant follow-ups to finally lock down time on your calendar. Whereas before it would be like you respond to their inquiry and then you're meeting in a couple days. So that is definitely different. And couples are a little older. The last couple years, they're gravitating older and older. And so they're busy, they're working professionals, and time is scarce. So you have to make yourself available, but also be following up so they're reminded to set that time with you.
hmm And one of the mindsets that I know gets in the way with marketing and follow up, right? Like that very crucial point in time where someone has explicitly said that they're interested in hiring you. A lot of people end up thinking like, I'm gonna bother folks if I keep
Yeah.
following up, right? I'm gonna bother people if I market my business too much, or I'm gonna bother people if I follow up too much. And the takeaway from this part of the conversation is no, you're not bothering them. You're literally just reminding them that you are there and that you are an option that they expressed interest in. So I hope that people
Right.
start to flip their own sort of mental script in this space because it's keeping them
Yeah.
from booking more projects and
Yeah.
couples.
They're the ones that reached out. You're just helping them.
Exactly, right? It's that simple, guys. Um, okay, so 64% of business owners said that their customers' ability to pay has negatively impacted their bottom line. So, what advice do you have for business owners that can help them like lessen this stat because it's a pretty big stat. 64%
Yeah.
is like very statistically significant. So how can we help make this less of a problem and so that business owners are still making their services feel affordable to their couples?
I can go first,
Jump
or
in.
Nora, do you want to? Okay. I think there's two things. You have to offer payment methods. You
Mm.
can't just assume that the one way how you want to accept payments as the business owner is how your customers want to pay. So you need to be able to send them an invoice and give them the power to select how they want to pay. And that needs to include like credit card, ACH, however like that customer wants to pay. If they need multiple people then paying that invoice, you have to also then be willing to break it into installments. There is, definitely a protection in the business to take, a retainer and take a certain percentage up front. And I 100% understand that. But just one payment or even two payments, that can be a lot to manage on the customer side. So allowing flexible payment options and installment options is really helpful for customers. And it also has an impact of cash flow management for your business too. You no longer just have to take deposits during the booking season months, of November through February, and you don't just have to have income coming in then during the summer, a final payment. So breaking up those installments is helpful as well for the business side of things too.
Is there sort of a sweet spot in how many installments? Because I say this with all the love, but I know a lot of business owners that are not great at managing money. Like they get these big chunks in and then it's like poof, it's gone.
Yeah.
So whether it's personal opinion, best practice based on experience, what's your recommendation on how many installments people are potentially breaking up client
So
payments into?
I think it's more actually on the price point and who your customers are. So if you have a really large price point and you serve in a, upper part of the market, the likelihood of somebody needing multiple installments is probably smaller, which is counterintuitive, than somebody that's more mid-market, where maybe their budgets isn't as high, maybe there's multiple people involved in the planning aspect of it. So I really kind of think you need to understand who are your customers, what are their budgets, and then how can you serve them with a better installment plan? So if somebody comes in and asks like, what is your policy? We typically say we take like a 50% deposit up front and 50% deposit, 4 to 6 weeks before the wedding. Does that work for you? Like, do you need, more options than that? And you can have that conversation with them and break it down. I would say our average invoice, Nora, is about three installments. Sometimes it can be two, sometimes it can be four or five.
Yeah.
But typically there's a retainer, one before the wedding, kind of then one right before the wedding, or maybe one right after the wedding. So that's just kind of what we see. But again, I think it's more the price point you're serving and your customers and what percentage of the budget you take up.
Yeah,
I
that
think
makes
also
sense.
it depends on how you're serving. Are you a photographer? Are you a florist? The biggest lesson here is always get payment before the event. Those post-event payments, you have lost all leverage and they're a lot harder to get those clients to pay. So even if you have to break it up in 10 installments, make sure that last one comes in before the wedding day. And another answer to this question, I wonder if it makes sense. Some people don't have pricing on their websites. And I think if you don't have that, you are going to be wasting a lot of time on consults with potential clients that might not be able to afford your services. So, they wouldn't be booking anyway, regardless of the number of installments that you have. So, just being very clear about pricing up front, whether it's a range, starting with average price. I know it can really be all over the place, but giving potential clients that information up front will just lessen the amount of time that you're wasting on consultations from people that wouldn't be clients anyway.
And a lot of people are hesitant to put pricing on their websites
I
because
know.
of there's this thing where it's price anchoring, right? Like we become biased toward the first number that we see and our brains just latch onto it as if that is the price. And that's why average or sometimes it's the copywriter in me is like, our typical couple invests X amount
Mhm.
of money, right? Like, so
Right.
you're also kind of framing up who your ideal couple is with,
Right.
the investment that they're going to make in your services. But in 2026, please, for the love of all
Please.
things, put your pricing on your website because with weddings and events, the like first sort of three gates that someone needs to pass through, and please let me know if you have other feelings or if you think that I'm off base here. Like, does your style match the style that I want my event to be? Are you available? Can I afford you? Like everything after those things, that's like nuance and detail, but those are the three big questions that couples have. And if you're gatekeeping that kind of stuff, then you are just making it harder to make the sale.
Right. And
Yeah.
people make assumptions whether you have it on there or not.
Oh
So
yeah.
just
So
make it easier.
I have the assumption that if I have to ask how much it costs, I can't afford it.
Yeah.
That's my
So
assumption. So I mean, unless you want your potential clients to have that same sort of reaction, then maybe you should put your pricing on your website. So we'll get too off topic on that one. But okay, so the next stat that kind of it surprised me in like a very not good way, is that 75% of small business owners are spending less than $499 a month on their marketing. And 8% are straight up spending nothing. And then it was like almost a third, it was 30 something percent that are spending less than $99 a month on their marketing. So this is a problem. And this is where I wanted to have the bulk of our conversation. So my first question about this is how can folks look at their pricing to make sure that they have enough profit to build in more of a marketing budget? And this is another great question for, the software founders in you, but also the planning business owners in you. Like, how do you approach figuring out what your marketing budget is going to be?
So, oh gosh, we could go hours into this, but
I know, I'm
I
like, where do I
think
start?
I know it's kind of the old adage though, like you have to spend money to make money. That still rings true today. But the way we make decisions on marketing, it's all data based. It's what is driving business and what is not. I was just talking with another business owner right before this, and she has been listing her business on a site for years, and it hasn't brought her much traction, but she's too nervous to stop, basically because of
Mm,
FOMO, or she doesn't want her biggest competitor to take her spot, but it's not actually driving any business to her. So, that's like it should be a data-driven decision where this is not working for you. It's a substantially more than $500 that could definitely be put to better use somewhere else. So you really just have to look at your numbers, even using something like Google Search Console, Google Analytics to see what's driving clicks to your website, what pages they're going to. Some websites have way too much information on there, and a lot of the pages don't even get views, and people get overwhelmed and go somewhere else. So using that, even for your website marketing. Um, and then also, if you're on all of the social media outlets and you're overwhelmed, like we were talking about before, you can see who is coming to your website from those marketing channels. And obviously, if you're tracking your inquiries, like on Rock Paper Coin, it automatically imports how they heard about you. You can export different reports just to look it over quarterly, monthly, yearly, however you want to review it. But really paying attention to those metrics are how I think decisions should be made.
Yeah, I'm gonna piggyback on that because it could be the best $500 you are spending if you are spending it in the exact right area that you continue to see like a return on investment, but it could also be flushing $500 down the toilet. And so if you don't know where your customers are coming in from, if you don't know where your traffic is coming in from, like you are just like throwing this money up in the air and hoping a dollar sticks on the wall. Like it's silly to even spend money if you don't know where people are finding you and how they're finding you. So if you look at all of your leads and where they're coming in from, and they're all coming in from venue referrals, then great, you should be going to those venues and you should be taking them out to lunch. You should be bringing them coffee. Like it doesn't, marketing dollars, it's so broad. And that's why this conversation can take so many different like avenues, but you just have to understand the data behind the traffic and the conversions for your customers to then go back and say, okay, now where should I put in $1? Can I get out two? If I put, a dollar here, can I get a new customer there?
hmm And at NG, one of our most important metrics that we track is our cost to acquire a customer. I don't know if on the software side of Rock
Yeah.
Paper Coin, or I mean, there's only a software side of Rock Paper Coin, but on the software side of the businesses that you both run, like that is something that we track so hard. Like we even in QuickBooks, Brett has a tag. So even if we spent money in August, but it's for an event in November, it's tagged as a November expense
Yep.
so that we can
Yeah.
actually and accurately calculate what it cost for us to win a new subscriber in NG. So if anyone's watching this, like, what is the cost to acquire a customer? It's basically just like, how much money did you spend in marketing that month? And how many new couples did you book or customers did you get, right? And so when you don't know that number, that I don't know, for businesses like ours, on this like software businesses, you almost can't make any decisions about what's worth the money and what's not. But for example, like if your planning services cost $10,000 and you start to track your marketing budget and how many people you actually win each month, and you start to find that it costs you $1,000 in marketing to win a new booked client, you should have some like wee wah alarms going off because that means $1,000 of your 10 is immediately gone, even if you didn't really realize it was gone. And so in the end, it helps you make very different decisions about where you're going to spend your money. And our NG's cost to acquire a customer fluctuates. Like we're still such a new business that it's like
Yeah.
a tachycardic heart monitor with a goal of where we're trying to end up. But are there any other metrics like that you would suggest people track in order to help them really understand, like, okay, well, this is where I can feel comfortable spending in marketing?
Well, I think something to track is also your close rate. So sometimes it's not a marketing problem, it's a sales problem. So you have all these leads coming in, but they're not booking. So in that case, you're going to want to look at how you're scheduling, how you're doing your consults, what your follow-up is. We did hear from a lot of people that they were getting way more inquiries, but they weren't able to close them. And that kind of goes into what we were talking about before, where couples are reaching out to more and more vendors per category. So it makes sense. But if you have a ton of inquiries and you aren't able to close them, that's a metric that you really want to pay attention to. And that's something that you cannot ignore and you need to make changes to combat it.
Hmm. And when you start to look at your entire funnel that way, right? And if you are comfortable getting a little bit more nerdy, and you can look at your sort of conversion rates from people are just discovering me to they're learning to know, like, and trust me to they're converting or not, then you can figure out where is it worth you spending money on marketing. Like, do you have an awareness problem? Because
Mhm.
not enough people are discovering you. So maybe that's where your marketing budget should go. Or to Nora's example, do you have a closing problem? And that's really where your resources should be spent. So yeah, Elizabeth, it looks like you have
Yeah,
something on your mind.
I was just gonna say that I talk a lot about it's a lot easier to 2x your conversion rate than to 2x your top of funnel. So with marketing in today and why this conversation is really important is that a lot of business owners feel overwhelmed and they don't know where to begin. And that's just
Yeah.
because we are inundated with information and platforms and where you need to be posting and it's social media and it's content and it's all the things. And so that top of funnel is really important. And if you have a steady top of funnel, but you're not booking these sales calls, like that's exactly to Nora's points where you need to be looking at it. Because to just keep like doing what you're doing is just not going to work. And the industry is moving so fast that this pre-COVID world that we
Yeah.
all got pretty like cozy with, it does not exist anymore. And I think a lot of business owners are still kind of having like a hard time with how these couples are now booking their vendors and how it's just changed drastically from what we knew for a very long time. And that's just the digital age. That's the rise of AI. That's just the rise of social media. Like all of it is playing into that.
Hmm. I know I talk about a lot of like, what is Angie doing in conversations like this, but I hope and think that it's helpful for people. But we're a business just like everybody else is. We exist in it. We're humans on planet Earth trying to work through the same challenges. And, one of the things that we're looking at our marketing is where can we do better at all parts of the funnel, but really at the very top with awareness and then at the very bottom with conversion. And so, to your point, Elizabeth, it is so much easier to make these like incremental steps in the right direction with your conversion rate than it is to figure out how you're going to get discovered by more people. And so last week, like my one of my first marketing tasks for 2026 was how do I experiment with our onboarding emails that people get, which are basically pitch and sales emails? How do I push this to try to get more out of it? Right. So I shared this because if the marketers are doing certain things, then maybe those of you who are trying to do your own marketing should try to experiment
Yes.
in similar but different ways as the marketers. So, but yeah, like I was like, let me fix or let me try to get more out of the bottom because I already have interested people. Then let me try to convince people to be interested in me is
Mhm.
is the
Yeah.
the whole thing in plain English. So yeah, it's fun. Marketing and conversion rates and funnels, it's all super, super fun. Uh yes. So my last question for you for the day is what would you tell the wedding pro who watches this conversation, reads the report, and says, I'm just going to keep doing what I've been doing?
Um, I mean, I don't even know where to begin, but I'll say this. In my opinion, the professionals and the businesses that are winning long term are not overhauling everything all at once and overnight, but they're also not doing nothing. I think the people that are winning are making these intentional, data-driven adjustments throughout the year. And that is taking their company in the direction to where they want to go. So to just say you're going to do nothing means that you're okay with the business declining. Like you might be able to ride the wave of all of the decisions that you made last year, and that might carry you for a little bit, but eventually, like that will level out. And you have to continue making adjustments and setting new goals to continue to improve. So you can't you can't just do what you're doing, but you also don't have to overhaul and start all of a sudden spending $2,000 on marketing and hiring consultants and doing all these things. Like that's not going to be good for your business either. And so it's that like somewhere in the middle where every business will find some success.
That's a great piece of advice. Nora, how about you?
Yeah, I totally agree. It's the little adjustments here and there that those great businesses do. I think if you say, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing, I'm not going to make any changes, that over time you will just drive yourself out of business because fewer and fewer of the couples getting married today will be interested in not necessarily what you have to offer. You could offer a great service, but getting there and finding you and booking you, if it's too hard, you will be out of business if you don't make any changes. And that's,
Yeah.
I mean, it's scary, but it's true. And we've seen it year over year. But if you're a wedding pro and you're a little nervous about your numbers and you don't have any money to spend right now, I think just getting out there and networking costs you nothing. So take the time to reconnect with other pros in your network, stay top of mind, make authentic connections. And that's another great way to generate like quality leads coming to you. So at the very least, I would do that. But um, I know it's a lot. It's a lot. And it's a lot to think about making all of these changes right away, which is why a few nips and tucks here and there and reviewing it regularly makes a difference. So,
Little, little nip and tuck.
so most people have these metrics on hand. It's more a matter of setting time on your calendar to review them and make sure that the changes that you're making are working for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't agree more about the it's not about a complete overhaul and it's not about doing nothing. And this is why my hope for business owners in 2026 and wedding professionals is that they really take the mechanics of being a business owner a lot more seriously. That they don't just absolve themselves of these responsibilities because I'm a creative, right? Because I just want to make flowers. I just want to bake cakes. I just want to, answer my couple's text at 2 in the morning because customer
Love
service
that.
is the most important thing ever, right? Like,
Don't do that.
I know, don't do that. But it is business is changing, and people like myself, Nora, and Elizabeth, we feel it in very different and intense ways running software companies. And we share these pieces of advice because we know that if you just choose to stand in one place, that's the only place you're ever going to go is where you are at. And so I do hope that people start tracking numbers, trying to make more driven decisions, invest like the tiniest amount of time in planning your own marketing as you do in how like compared to how much time you plan what you're going to do for your couples. Just take like 1% of that energy and apply it to your own business, and it's really going to help push you in the right direction, especially in a complicated economy and time like we're all living. Well, thank you so much for having such a fun conversation. We're going to have more money and marketing chats, I
Let's
think,
do
in the
it. I love
future.
Yes. Thank
it.
you.
Um, where can folks who are watching this video connect with each of you? Try rock, paper, coin, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we're online at rockpapercoin.com or on Instagram at rockpapercoin. Otherwise, I'm Nora at rockpapercoin and Elizabeth is Elizabeth at rockpapercoin.com. We're really easy to get a hold of.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you everyone for watching the replay, for joining us live. Nora and Elizabeth, seriously, for coming and having such a thoughtful conversation that's going to help wedding pros for sure. Hopefully, rethink how they're spending their money and marketing and that part of the Venn diagram. But I hope everyone has a fantastic rest of the day.
Yeah.
Please do go try out Rock Paper Coin. It is a wonderful, simple, powerful piece of software that helps you track your leads, right? Send contracts, invoices, do all those payment plans that we've been talking about,
Yep.
all of that part of running your business. And then if you haven't checked out NG, for those of you who are doing your own marketing, that is our jam. So you can visit us at ng.co. But until next time, I will see you all around on the internet. Bye, my friends.
Thanks.
Hi,
Bye.
thank you.